here I am with 3 of LEGO's most expensive LEGO Star Wars sets here. As 2022 is coming to an end, I thought I might as well do a video comparing the 3. I'm going to try and keep it short, but I have a lot of things I have to say about all 3 of these. But without further ado, we'll get into it. We'll be comparing the Imperial Star Destroyer, but I will be calling this the Devastator because that's the version of this. The Ultimate Collector's Millennium Falcon and the AT-AT Walker. Logistically, because I am filming this in 2022, this is the one you should be getting. Logistically, because this set is retiring by the end of this year. If you are trying to find this online or trying to shop online for this thing, good luck. It is already selling out very quickly online, and I've already seen this go up to $1,000. So I know the biggest complaint about this set is its price to piece ratio being $700 for something that has what, not even 4,700 pieces, I think. And yeah, so that's the biggest complaint about this set that most people have, other than its lack of interior and its lack of minifigures. This is one of those sets where you kind of have to buy it to know its worth. And because at first I didn't want to get this set, I really didn't, but a few buddies of mine told me that I should just bite down the nail and really experience it for myself. And they were telling me that this thing is a lot cooler than you think and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, fine, sure. So I get this set and I build it, and my buddies were right. Like, this is a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. Just has a couple of flaws, such as, you know, its lack of interior. I think based on the last Star Destroyer UCS, they were really trying to focus on keeping a sturdy structure rather than including an interior. But it's still kind of sad because the Super Star Destroyer, which was released before this, had somewhat of an interior inside. It wasn't too crazy, but it was enough that, you know, fans could be happy with it. The price to piece ratio, I think that's going to be the hardest thing about this, because again, it's one of those things where you got to buy it to know its worth. As I mentioned several times already, if you ever get the chance, go to a LEGO store and you pick up the box that has all the pieces for the Devastator, and then, you know, after lifting up that box, lift up the box for the Millennium Falcon or the AT-AT. Mainly the Millennium Falcon. And you'll be surprised how similar they are in weight. So they're actually pretty darn similar. This weighs a good chunk, almost the same amount as the Falcon, I would argue. And building experience is great. It didn't feel super repetitive. You could see there are some unique parts during the build to just give it a little more variety and life to it. So it didn't feel all that boring. I do recommend popping this piece off first if you want to remove these, because these are removable to access that interior. But even if you lift up those Technic bars, you still need to support your hand somewhere in the back. I normally set my hand around the dome, which is the lower region of this. So that was another cool thing they included on this set, is some underside details where you can actually dock your Tan of 4 and have a couple of TIE fighters there, which is really cool. It's a huge bonus. You could see the Tan of 4 is on the side. You can actually put it on both different sides. My little concern is that the rod connected to it, I don't know if you could see it on camera, but it's kind of bent a little. So I'm just worried about how that will be over time. But there's that. And yeah, and just the amount of, I mean, there was a lot of separate bags on this build for all the plates that it came with, and they're huge. They're huge. And what's cool about this is this wasn't on display in Lego stores for a long time. At least I don't think. And so not seeing one on display and then just kind of building it yourself, it was kind of exciting of its own. Then building the pieces to see how massive this thing was and how many plates he had to put on was crazy. I mean, like, you could see some of these right here are plates. Let's see, this whole thing right here, this entire region is a plate. That is a Lego plate right there. And you get a bunch of these and a bunch, I think, yeah, there's a plate right here. This whole thing's a plate. It's just huge. And it really stands out. I mean, if you see how it looks compared to the other two, it's got its own, I don't know. A lot of people mention this when they own this set. It just owns it like it's just an eye magnet. Actually, to experiment between these three for display, and most people were noticing the Devastator more than the other two. If you really want something just to show off, just straight up, this is definitely it. Obviously, you got your moving turrets. You got your two mini figures. I think they're just pilots. They're still exclusive to this set, but it would be cool to see Darth Vader because, I mean, this is the Devastator. So if you don't know about the Devastator Star Destroyer, this is the one that took place in A New Hope. Hence why there's a Tantive 4 right here. And you can even dock it on the underside of this. It is still pretty fragile, especially in the back, just because you have a bunch of tiles here that are kind of just hanging off by one stud. So if I put my fingers anywhere here, it will pop off with those pieces. Otherwise, it's pretty sturdy. I mean, I can wiggle this around and not have to worry. Yeah, so it's pretty sturdy. It's a good design. It just has the least amount of features, which is the only downfall, but definitely worth the investment. And dare I would argue, if you really want, you could you buy this set, even if you're not a huge fan, keep it in the box, make some extra profit out of it, and then just buy the Millennium Falcon or the AT-AT, and you have some extra money that returns back to you. So that's what I would do. But nonetheless, that's the Devastator for you. The UCS set with the most amount of features in this collection is definitely the AT-AT Walker. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. It's fascinating. Just seeing this exist as a Lego set just shows how far Lego has come with their sets. I mean, it's been far overdue at this point. I think a lot of fans can agree, but I mean, realistically, this is a very top-heavy design, especially the fact that, if I remember correctly, you guys could tell me if I'm wrong, this is the first UCS set we've seen with a full interior. So this thing's got a full interior. There's so many different ways you could display it, and I never thought that would be such a fun little feature, even as an adult. So you can, open these like little doors. You can open the front door here. You can remove this whole panel for display. I mean, and you can remove the tops. There's just so many ways you could go about displaying this set. And not to mention, this is the first minifig scale AT-AT I have ever seen that has posable legs, where you can actually bend the joints and stuff. All the other big Lego AT-AT mocks I've seen, like Cave God's mock, beautiful mock, by the way. I definitely was considering on building that one myself. But it's just, because of the skinny legs and the screen accuracy, it was just way too heavy, and I've seen way too many accidents happening with that mock, and most of them have to use like some kind of platform to support it at the bottom to keep it intact. But this one I'm not even worried about. I can do that. I could just push it and not worry about it falling over. So it does a really good job in staying in one piece. And the fact that you can even bend the joints. I remember there were rumors going around that Lego was going to put this out, and everyone, myself included, were curious how this was going to work, if you can even bend the legs or not, or if there's going to be a platform for it. But no platform. It's sturdy, and it's got posable legs. Now, obviously, the biggest sacrifice here is they got thicker legs, which leads to my next point. I think the only biggest downfall of this set really is just the screen inaccuracies. The legs, I can really care less about. I mean, that's the sacrifice you have to make this thing more sturdy. So I totally get that. But there's a lot of I will admit, AT-AT is my favorite ground vehicle, so I'm a lot more picky on this as far as design goes. The real big thing was just the studs. And I talk about this in another video if you want to see all the mods I made to this AT-AT. And you could even see the mods. The biggest one is this right here. It's just to, there's a whole debate with Lego whether you want studs to show or to not to show. And I think the designers were trying to kind of follow a balance between both. And I feel like they were kind of struggling on making it consistent throughout the design. So like specifically this one, they had like a round plate and then just put a tile on top of it. So in my opinion, it didn't really give any depth and didn't replicate the lower joint to make it look like it's an axle that spins like in the movies. So I changed it where the studs do show and it does look like a spinning axle and what have you. So again, if you want to see a video on how to make that mod, you can. Oh yeah, and then the other thing is you can, there's just so many features. You can move these turrets. You can move these turrets back and forth. You can open the head, open the front part of the cockpit. You can even open the sides if you like. There's just so many cool different ways you could display it. And this just shows like how far Lego has come in their designs and their Lego sets, and it's really cool to see. You can even move the head, and not to mention they have a good minifigure selection and quite an amount too. You got Luke, General Veers, AT-AT pilots, and snowtroopers, and there's a lot of cool Easter eggs. They got diverse troopers and stuff like that, which is cool to see, and so on and so forth. So there really is not much complaints I have with this. I think the real thing for a lot of people is obviously going to be the price tag, but let's be real, that's got to be applied for all of these. These both increased in price in the span of this year in 2022. This one did not. So that's another reason to consider this. This one is cheaper of the two. Now, I know it's a bit trickier because, again, price to piece is what people will be looking at. I mean, this is still more expensive than the new Razor Crest that just came out. So if you really don't have a care in the world about this one, then cool. But, I mean, even if you want to, this will make a great investment over the years. So I think a lot of people are missing out, and I don't think a lot of people are going to realize just how cool and immense this thing is until it becomes retired set. So, it's just one of those sad, unfortunate things. Storage-wise and spacing, it's going to be a little more tricky with the Imperial or with the Devastator over the AT-AT, because obviously, I mean, this is it's pretty tall, but you can adjust the height in the bookshelf. This one you'll have to consider just because it's the longest one, and it's pretty wide. It's pretty wide, but I mean it gets skinnier throughout, so you can kind of squeeze your way into a bookshelf with this guy. And then there's the Millennium Falcon. So I feel like this was a little unfair, just for the time's sake, because I built the AT-AT first and then I built the Millennium Falcon. I had some expectations that I guess weren't really put into this factor, especially the fact that this is almost a 5-year-old set now. It's hard to believe because this came out in 2017 as its 10th anniversary, and this was during the time when The Last Jedi was coming out. So, this is still, this still does a great job for, where it's at, and it's, for how old it is, so on and so forth. So, and it's still the largest Lego Star Wars UCS set. It's got 7,541 pieces. This is still the largest, and it's just a beautiful looking set. Now, you definitely could compare these two and say this looks better. I think it's just because, there's more contrast to this. There's a lot more colors. It's a common theme with Star Wars to run the gray design. And I think the reason behind that is because most of these are made of Durasteel. I think that's like the common material in the Star Wars lore. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's the reason why gray is such a popular color for it. But it's nice to see that this one has a lot more color variety and stuff. Now, this also has quite an amount of stickers. I was a lot more confused on why they made certain things print and why they made certain things stickers. Like, these are print right here, that's print, but then, these are print, which you could make them stickers, but then they decided to make this one a sticker, and then they made the door stickered. That was the hardest part, because I'm very nitpicky when it comes to stickers, is the fact that the door stickers for the Falcon, you have to put it in a Lego piece that has like a cut extrusion. There's depth to it, so it's kind of harder to perfect it. So I kind of screwed up on one of them a little, and it's a little wrinkly, but it's not enough to be noticeable. So it was just kind of a letdown. Speaking of letdowns, so what I mean about building this one first and then this one, just because the full interior, I was definitely spoiled on this. And then when I built the interior on this, it felt more disappointing. Now, you'd think I would say the same for this one, but at least for this one, it was just all Technic, and it was just like, yeah, it's kind of hard to find a place for it to build an interior. But this one had potential. Like, there's only 2 sections of the interior. I thought there would be more for some reason. And they all kind of seem very, very jam-packed in there. Like, it feels very crammed in this set. So, I don't know. I guess I just kind of felt let down by that. But again, this kind of just built this after the AT-AT, so I can't complain too much. And it's a 2017 set, so it still holds up to what it is. And, it did a pretty good job with its interior. So you have this, but the other thing with building these interiors is they had the ability to do it, because what they did is they would make a platform, and then they would have these Technic rods and the Technic stoppers to attach to the interior. So they definitely could have done it on this section. I can understand why they didn't do it on this one, just because they have space for this long axle where it drops for the gunners at the front. Other than that, it definitely could have done more, but I can't complain. There's at least an interior on this. And I like how a lot of this just sits, and there's a lot of, it's very easy to, especially in the building process, to overlook some parts of the instructions just because there's so much going on in this set. There's lots of greebling, there's lots of different techniques and how you put them on and stuff, so it requires lots of attention to detail and, you know, making sure that you are getting every piece on there correctly. I had several moments where I've stumbled on this one more than the others. So, but nonetheless, it made it a nice, fun, challenging experience. And just looking at this thing, I mean, it's beautiful. It, like, you see all this greebling and all that. It shows that it has a story to tell. It's kind of like the culmination of Star Wars and its story. And it's cool because I didn't really have that much appreciation of the Millennium Falcon until Lego made one. And then and when I was a kid, I really wanted to get the 2007 edition, which during that time was the largest set that Lego's ever pulled out, which was the 5,000 piece. And I was like super bummed when it discontinued, and then they came out with this one, and I was so happy. I felt like my little kid self again. It's such a cool set. This one arguably has the best variety for minifigures. I know this one has a lot, but a lot of it is similar. You know, you have all your snowtroopers, but this one you got all of your characters, especially exclusive stuff. You got your Monarch right here. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. It's this guy. Just, you know, you can't really see it, but he's the one in Empire Strikes Back when they're in the big earthworm. But yeah, you get Han, Chewie, Leia, and then, you know, this came out during the Last Jedi when it was coming out, so you got Rey, Finn, the Porgs, and then you have your extra stuff, which is just a whole new level of dedication to detail when you can switch out the dish plates and you can put on extra detail at the front mandibles of the Falcon to make it more accurate to the, you know, movie of, you know, the Disney trilogy. So really cool to see. This one is going to be the most difficult to put for storage. So if you are already struggling with like trying to, you know, pay the $850, I'd really consider saving some extra money to give it a dedicated space for it, whether it be a specific stand or it would be a vertical stand to put in a bookshelf. One of those two, because yeah, this thing, because I mean, like, you got length, which you can compensate in a bookshelf. You got height, which you could compensate, but you can't really compensate for width like that. That's hard to really get in a bookshelf. And this thing's pretty wide. I mean, I know it's about as wide as the Imperial, but it's like wide throughout. Let's see if I could compare the two, like top to bottom. I mean, you could see, okay, I guess it's not too wide, but I mean, again, like, you're not really gonna be putting this, it's still gonna be very difficult because the width of this is throughout. You know, it doesn't shrink or narrow down like the Devastator. So you have that to consider. You can see I have these that are the stands. So if you want, I'm using this stand dedicated just to the Falcon. So I bought these off of IKEA, and it comes with actually this long one right here that the Devastator's on, and then this square looking one, and it fits for both of them. So it was only like $80 in IKEA. So if you have that money, you know, I'll put it down in the link in the description if you're interested. But yeah, so there's that. A couple of extra flaws with the Falcon is really, it's just like small nitpicky things for me. It's like, yeah, the interior, like, they definitely could have, the reason why I mentioned the pins, the stomping pins for the Technic and how they put in the interior, they definitely could have done that for this side. This one I'm not, I understand because of the gunner that they have that drops, but that's it. Like, just wish there was more. It just seems very crammed. I don't know if it's even like mini fig scale in there. I kind of just ask about that, but oh well. So there's that. They come with blasters. All the minifigures have blasters, but when I want to like kind of designate them into a cockpit or something, like I don't know where to put a blaster, so I kind of made one right here where it stores all of their blasters, and Chewie's crossbow. I don't know if you guys can really see that well, but yeah, so that's what I have in here. And speaking of Chewie, I like using him as in the driver's seat in the cockpit. And what's really annoying is, normally you could fit him 4 minifigures with inside the cockpit, as you should, but it's a lot harder on this one if you have Chewie in the front, being in the driver's or the passenger seat, because his torso is just slightly thick enough where you're not able to put the minifigure behind it. It's a very tight space cram. And I still wish they included Luke and Obi-Wan in the Millennium Falcon, because I think they, both of them still played a big role in Star Wars, but, during the time when Last Jedi was coming out, I understand that they wanted probably switch things up a little for minifigs, because at that point it'll almost be the same minifigs as the original UCS Falcon, but I don't know. It still would be nice to see Luke and Obi-Wan in this, but oh well. If you want the TLDR, really you should be getting this, because this is retiring by the end of this year, and I'm telling you right now, you're going to regret not getting this, because it is a beautiful set. These photos and videos you see of me with this, it does not do a justice on just how cool it looks. Okay, just saying. And most people, I guarantee you, once this retires, a lot of people are going to be fighting to try and buy this set somewhere, and it's going to be very expensive by then, and most people are going to regret that they didn't get this. So get this. If you want something, if you're not a fan of this, then maybe get it anyways, make it a return on your investment, and then buy one of these instead with some extra cash on the side. So maybe you do that. If you want to buy a UCS set that has the most features, as probably the first to have a fully interior build, get the AT-AT. It has the most inconsistent movie accuracies as far as the exterior goes, but they're easy fixes. You can watch my mod video if you're really curious, but still a beautiful, great, fun set, even as an adult. If you want to flex on your friends and have the largest UCS set, you're not really interested in the other two, and maybe you want to get this before it retires, because it will be the next one before it bites the dust. Definitely get the Falcon. So, that's all I gotta say in this comparison. Hopefully this helps a little bit, give you a little guidance on your journey into, making a painful purchase. I mean, it's gonna be painful no matter how much money you have in your pocket or not for these. And don't even ask me how I got these, because I'm surprised that I have all 3 of them in this very room. So yeah, if you guys like this video, cool. If not, then well, until next time, see ya.